Oh, wow. There go my sound. There go my sound. I don't know if I'm into doing whole shows with no sound, but that's not what I want to do in life. That's not what that's not the plan. I was just doing I was all into it with no sound. With my sound down. Let me see if I'm live, if you can hear me now.
No sound, but that's not what I want to do in life.
Tone, I didn't have no sound.
That's not what
I got some sound now, but yeah, that's not what I want to do in life. I don't want to do no shows with the sound down. But now that we turned up, I want to talk about this whole Nancy Pelosi thing. I want to talk about old Joe Biden seems to be under investigation via Hunter Biden's laptop, and the Republicans got something to say. Democrats are going to have a new shift of power, and I want to start with the lady up top. Where's she at? Where's my top? Right there. Nancy Pelosi. Now, Nancy Pelosi is stepping down as the Speaker of the House. Yeah, she said, I gotta leave. Now that I got sound, maybe I could share this. Let me share this. Maybe I could share this so we could get some company. Let me see. So yeah, I'm gonna share this real quick. So Nancy Pelosi stepping down it's a peculiar time. She's stepping down as the House takes over. As the Republican House take over. Let me correct my language. I'm trying to do too much. Let me say what I'm going to say and share what I'm going to share. Give me 13 seconds. Didn't even take 13 seconds. And so I noticed as the Republicans seize power, the first thing that they're going to do is start investigating and probing. And then I see Nancy Pelosi step down without a fight. I remember there's been quite a few times where there was rumbling and bumbling of people who wanted to, step up and take Nancy Pelosi's spot. And it seems like they could never get it done. Nancy Pelosi is a powerful political figure. And for her to step down, I'm wondering, is it because of the probes and investigations? Or was it because Paul Pelosi? Maybe both, but I think, think the world is a little bit insensitive. Yeah, I said it. I think the world's a little bit insensitive. I think Paul Pelosi is lonely. I think Paul Pelosi is 80-something years old and he misses Gal. He like, baby, come home. Baby, come back. Nancy Pelosi has a whole nother life across the country. He's in San Francisco. She's in D.C. He's lonely. A few months ago, remember, Paul Pelosi got into a car accident while drunk. So he got a DUI. Let me take back the car accident part. I know he got a DUI. And yeah, there was a car accident because they were saying that the passenger side airbag was out, but wasn't nobody else there when the police came. Now, I don't know if that just happens sometimes, but let's say there was somebody there per se, not saying that there was somebody there. Just saying, what if somebody was there? Why would somebody be there and have to leave? Because Paulie has some company. And why would Paulie have some company? Because Paulie lonely. Paulie lonely. A couple weeks ago, somebody, they say allegedly breaks into the Pelosi home. So Nancy, again, he's in San Francisco, she's in D.C. You see the little sprinkling of state distance. And Paulie was lonely. So what if Paulie invited some company over? It looked good, though. It looked good just talking. But what if Paulie invited somebody over? Because, see, this is the funny thing. They're saying that the guy broke in to the Pelosi home. But when they show the picture of the spot, of the intrusion, as they would call it, I think that's what they would call it, in the spot where, he busted in the window, instead of the glass being in towards the house, you bust in and the glass goes that way, like, let's see if I can, like this is the rock, that's glass, bling. Now what they're saying is the glass, he hit it from the outside and the glass came this way. So the glass is on the outside of the house. If you can't see what I'm doing, but it makes people start asking questions. And then there were questions of he was in there for 30 minutes before you called the police. All right, okay, cool. I got it. And Paul said, well, he had me hostage and I didn't know what to do. And so eventually I asked him if I can use the restroom where I was charging my phone. So it's late at night and Paul Pelosi is, I guess, supposedly in bed, but he's charging his phone in the restroom. Well, hey, who am I to judge? So, then I see a report the other day that there was a reporter come out and said that Paul Pelosi opened the door. And after Paul Pelosi opened the door, he opened the door for the police. The police came, and there was kind of a bone of contention is who opened the door and when, because the police report said that the police officers opened the door and went in. And when they went in, they saw the guys, I saw one report said that he was laying in a pool of blood, which ended up being completely false. But the police report said that the police opened the door and went in, but this reporter comes out and says, Paul Pelosi opened the door. And after he opened the door, he walked back to the assailant. And then after he walks back to the assailant, then the assailant grabs the hammer and hit him in the head with the hammer. Whoop. Right. And I'm not, I don't think it's okay to hit anybody in the head with the hammer. I would like to say obviously, but I don't think anything is that obvious anymore. So I don't think, do not hit nobody in the head with a hammer. All right. That's not okay. But what I am saying is there are some things off about this whole story. Again, he was there for 30 minutes before they called the police. And then there hasn't been any footage. Nancy Pelosi is the third in line for the presidency. Well, she was up until today. Third in line to the presidency. And now I know that she wasn't there because you'll hear people say, well, she wasn't there. She was in Washington, which is the reason I'm saying that I think Paul is lonely. Remember, because she wasn't there. She was in Washington. But back to my main point. They say she wasn't there. And so some people will say, well, there's no need to have Secret Service and all these cameras, blah, 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 because she wasn't there. But I would say that that's not true. I don't know about the Secret Service, but I would wonder about the cameras. Because in some of those cameras, in some of those neighborhoods in San Francisco where she lives, the community itself will have their own provisions to have cameras. Oh, yeah, look it up. Look it up. I've been in that area a lot. And also, just because she was gone doesn't mean that there wouldn't be any type of watchful eye over her home coming from her government post, because that's still her family. It's hard for somebody to make good decisions when their family could be under siege, right? So it seems like it just doesn't make sense. There haven't been any cameras shown. There's no police cam, no lapel cameras. The guy who reported that Paul Pelosi opened the door got suspended. They didn't say that he lied. They just suspended him. They didn't say what he said to make him suspend him, but they suspended him. And from a reputable news station, I don't even like the word reputable news station anymore, from a large media conglomerate, because I don't know how honest the news is anymore. But either way it goes, so Nancy Pelosi is stepping down, and I'm wondering what is going to happen. Who is going to have the gravitas to be able to slick their way through the house like she does, to manipulate people to do things, to put pressure where it needs to be put? She's been there for a while. She's an old goat. And when you're there, you learn things. And Nancy has learned how to do her job. And so is she stepping down because Paul is lonely sometimes? Or is she stepping down because she's trying to like have less of a public profile for all these probes? And speaking of the probes, let's talk about, matter of fact, here, let me take you here real quick. And I'm recapping because my last live got ended. Well, there was no sound, and I almost started this one the same way. But let me got a minute clip of Nancy Pelosi stepping on down.
There is no greater official honor for me than to stand on this floor and to speak for the people of San Francisco. This I will continue to do as a member of the House, speaking for the people of San Francisco, serving the great state of California, and defending our Constitution. And with great confidence in our caucus, I will not seek re-election to Democratic leadership in the next Congress. For me, the hour's come for a new generation to lead the Democratic caucus that I so deeply respect. And I'm grateful that so many are ready and willing to shoulder this awesome responsibility.
I think that was a slight right there, like just based on the way that she said it so flippantly, like, you know, and like basically, yeah, all you guys ready to take my spot, huh? I see you. Everybody want to take my spot, huh? Yeah, whatever.
That I so deeply respect. And I'm grateful that so many are ready and willing to shoulder this awesome responsibility. Madam Speaker, standing here today, I'm endlessly grateful for all of life's blessings, for my Democratic colleagues whose courage and commitment with the support of your families have made many of these accomplishments possible. In fact, could not have been done without you. For my dear husband, Paul, who has been my beloved partner in life and my pillar of support, thank you. We're all grateful for all the prayers and well wishes as he continues his recovery. Thank you so much.
See, she went ahead and she said, "Hey, Paul, I'm coming back, baby." Now I don't know if she's going to spend less time in Washington, but Nancy, you better get to Paul. Paul showing all the signs of a man that needs more loving. All right, and so I'm not judging Paul Pelosi. If Paul Pelosi, let's come out and let's figure out if they were to come out and say, you know what, the truth is that Paul Pelosi was on a date and the date went wrong. I wouldn't judge Paul Pelosi. He's an 80-something-year-old man, and his gal is on the other side of the country scamming you and me. Paul needs some love. But now let's jump into this Joe Biden investigation. This is interesting because back when it was Hunter Biden and the laptop, it was misinformation. Remember when it first came out, you couldn't even talk about it without being, suppressed. They were taking down stories. They didn't want it to mess with the election. They were saying it was lies. They were saying that it was misinformation from it starts with an R. Those people. I don't know if I can say it. You get censored so easily on these things. I started posting videos on TikTok, like little political breakdown and commentary and stuff that I like to talk about. And it was doing pretty good. And then they just started like censoring all my videos. And now I'm like, I went against the community guidelines and I never curse. I don't show any nudity, nothing of the sort. And I don't know. I wish I could get away with things like a politician. That would, that's why I'm not a politician, because I think that I would take full advantage of it. But either way it goes, so at first this whole thing was just not true. And then after the election, you started seeing articles here and there where they were talking more about the laptop in the true context. They was, well, maybe there is some truth to this whole laptop thing. Remember that? Maybe there is some truth to it. Oh, after the election. Okay, so maybe there is some truth to it. And so more things started coming out, then it started leaking, which it was already leaking before the election, but they, that shows they can stop whatever they want. But it starts leaking, starts coming out to the public. We start seeing pictures of Hunter doing illicit drugs with illicit people. He was doing, they was doing something strange for a little change. Something strange for a little change. That's when I grew up, that's what they would say. He was doing something strange for a little change. Now, he was given a change, but he was still doing something strange. But there were documents in these laptops, and, they were tying him to a company name called Prisma, if I'm not mistaken. And, basically they were saying it was coming out, they were saying that Hunter Biden was using his dad's power as vice president at the time to get money. And they said he had a nickname. They called him Big Guy, and it's a whole story. I actually look. This would be a good movie to watch. The Hunter Biden story would be like great in the movies. Hunter Biden is a rock star. He allegedly does coke in a strip club. We've seen him, everybody celebrates rappers that, I sold this, I sold that. We seen Hunter Biden chopping it up on the scale. So he has an interesting life. And he's a man of intrigue, an international man of intrigue. He has ties around the world. He's getting money in countries that are now at war. And they are saying that he used his influence through his dad to get rich. And so, this is going to make a good movie. And since the movie isn't out, I will settle for the hearings. I will settle for this. I will settle for the probe, because the probe is just going to write the movie. I mean, somebody's out there paying attention. Let's see what these guys got to say over here. Now, this is a little longer, so we might skip through it at times, but basically, I knew soon as the Republicans got in office, not in office, but soon as they took over the House, I knew that the probes were going to start. I knew they were going to probe and investigate and probe. Sometimes they're just going to probe, and sometimes they're just going to investigate. But then there's going to be times where they probe and investigate at the same time. They've been promising it. They've been promising that, hey, when we get power, I'm coming at you. I'm coming at you. I wonder if Rand Paul is like, yes. I wonder who's on the investigation and probe list. Because they spent 4 years investigating and probing Donald Trump, even after his presidency. So this is the new norm. They spent plenty of time. You had Russiagate, you had impeachments. Didn't he get impeached twice? They said they was going to impeach him like 12 times, but impeachment, investigations, your money, your taxes, Russiagate. I tried to roll it so they can't catch it. Russiagate. So much. He gave the college basketball team McDonald's gate. Just gate after gate after gate. And so now the Republicans got power. See, this is, sometimes I have to look at politics in the lens of entertainment so I don't get so discouraged that I don't want to deal with it at all. So it's all very entertaining. The back and forth, the tug of war, it's so cinematic. Now let's see what the Republicans came out and said today.
Here. All right, well, I want to thank everyone for coming out today. Today we're going to provide you with something that you all aren't used to with respect to congressional investigations, and that's evidence. Committee Republicans have spoken with multiple whistleblowers from numerous schemes involving the Biden family, reviewed Hunter Biden's laptop, and received documents of previously unknown transactions. What we found are business plans aimed at targets around the world.
I gotta stop real quick. The way they coming out seem like they coming out swinging. He said, we're going to come to you with something that you are not used to seeing. Evidence. Evidence. So they've been compiling this stuff for a while now. I think that's going to be the actual danger. See, if they could get past the perception, because they're going to feel like, oh, you're investigating Hunter and you're saying it's Biden, but it's really Hunter, and Hunter is not a part of he's not an elected official. This is a witch hunt, and you're only doing this because it's not because Donald Trump. And so a lot of people are going to look past if there is any real validity, people are going to look past that validity because they feel as if that it's already tainted with the T. And that's Trump. So a lot of people aren't going to listen to it. And plus, the media did a good job of suppressing it and calling people who spoke about it crazy, cuckoo. So a lot of people are still going to look at all this stuff. The Republicans talk about, we going to start with evidence. And there's people who aren't even going to get past this press conference. They're not even going to get started because they're already in disbelief because they were first told to disbelieve. But I am here to see it. Come on.
Based on influence peddling, including with people closely tied to foreign governments like China and Russia. We also found plans based in the United States where the Biden family swindled investors of hundreds of thousands of dollars, all with Joe Biden's participation and knowledge. In 2019, his campaign for president, Joe Biden told the American people he had nothing but had conversations with his family about their business dealings. That was a lie. Whistleblowers described President Biden as chairman of the board for these businesses. He personally participated in meetings and phone calls. Documents show that he was a partner with access to an office. To be clear, Joe Biden is the big dog. This evidence raises troubling questions about whether President Biden is a national security risk and about whether he is compromised by foreign governments.
Now, this sounds like the same thing they were saying about Donald Trump. Is he compromised, the foreign government? I feel like these words are going to lower me in the algorithm, lower than I already am. See, this is tough. It's tough to talk about these things without causing problems by just talking about it. Let's keep going, but this sounds a whole lot like when they were going after Donald Trump. Interesting. And they said that Joe Biden had a place in the scandal. They said that he and his family swindled. I wrote down the word swindled. I thought that was interesting. Swindled hundreds of thousands from a particular person. Now, in the world of swindling and high politics, hundreds of thousands of dollars isn't that much. It's not that much. You're gonna have to come with more than he swindled, hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's chump change for professional thieves, right? Come on.
Biden is the big dog. This evidence raises troubling questions about whether President Biden is a national security risk and about whether he is compromised by foreign governments. Despite the president's claim that he wasn't involved in Biden family business schemes, these photos show Joe Biden meeting with his family associates while vice president. Committee Republicans have identified over 50 countries the Biden family sought businesses in. On the international side of the Biden family business, the deals were often led by Hunter Biden. And that map there behind the play shows all the countries where the Bidens had a footprint.
Now, see, that's the thing, because they're talking about the Bidens having all this international business and doing all this international business and having ties, but it seems as if his whole time as vice president and even now as president, his time in Senate or Congress, Senator, he hasn't. It doesn't seem as if he has been presented as this international businessman. And so I'm wondering, is that on purpose? Is it by accident? Is it because he was doing it via his son? But the whole international businessman thing is just been kind of missing. So I'm wondering, is this something that they're trying to trump up as a charge to make it seem fuller? Or is Joe Biden, has he and his family really been doing all this international business? I want to know. And if he has been, I wonder why the perception of Joe Biden hasn't been the perception of this international businessman. It's been of this lovable, huggable, folksy old guy. But I want to know, because they're about to show a map. And whenever they show a map and part of it is colored and it's a nice size blots of color, you like, ooh, what's going on there? They saying that's where he was doing business at. So if he was doing international business in all those places, I want to know why they told me he was just the lovable, huggable, sometimes forgetful, sometimes I like to smell you old guy. Something's not right about that.
And that map there behind the flag shows all the countries where the Bidens had a footprint in international business dealings. The investigation reveals a family that engaged with some of America's most powerful adversaries, planning to sell one of the largest sources of cobalt for electric vehicles in the world to the Chinese, for example. The Bidens flourished and became millionaires by simply offering access to the family. Among the dozens of shell companies the Bidens set up, there were millions of dollars of wire transfers, flights on Air Force Two to conduct personal business, and meetings with heads of state, all while Joe Biden was aware of what was happening.
Wow.
All the while, he turned a blind eye.
Nice.
Many transactions related to these businesses have raised red flags at U.S. banks. A suspicious activity report, or SAR, is a document a bank must file with the Treasury Department when a transaction is suspected to be related to money laundering or fraud or other types of criminal activity. According to media reports, the Biden family accumulated over 150 SARs. One SAR generated by an American bank to the Treasury Department connects Hunter Biden and his business associates to international human trafficking, among other illegal activities. The money that was being made from foreign principals in the same room as Joe Biden was increasingly spent on furthering illegal activity. The SARs show that Hunter Biden was conducting business with suspected human traffickers. The money gained through influence peddling was funneled to a suspected criminal enterprise.
Now he may not have known that the people he was doing illegal business with were sex traffickers. He may not have known that. I would like to see that in this investigation. All right, I want to see it. That's why I'm here for it. But those accusations are tough. So basically, they saying that the Bidens have been flagged for money laundering or something of the sort 150 times. See, why nobody has? So they're painting Joe Biden as this international businessman who runs a crime family, who uses their influence to get millions of dollars. And they've been telling me that this is just a folksy old man that sometimes forget things, sometimes stutters, and sometimes likes to sniff a woman every now and then, but he's just a loving old man. And nobody told me about all this international national businessman stuff. I never heard this. I don't know. And I think if they're going to go with this sale, this is going to be a hard sell for a lot of the American public, because Joe Biden was never framed like that. All of his years in government. You've never known him to be the guy who working with all the, all this international business. That does sound like Donald Trump. This case would be a slam dunk if it was against Donald Trump. So I'm wondering how people are going to receive this new information or perception of Joe Slow. I don't know.
Again, one linked to human trafficking. We have repeatedly called on the Biden Treasury Department to release additional financial documents to committee Republicans, but thus far Treasury has refused. We want to know what the Biden administration is trying to hide from the American people and why they are not being transparent. We also found evidence Hunter Biden sought to evade these SARs using his financial advisor, coincidentally a Clinton administration official. We will continue to pursue all evidence, and specifically the SARs and bank records in the new Congress. As part of our investigation, we have evidence that the finances, credit cards, and bank accounts of Hunter and Joe Biden were commingled, if not shared. And on some accounts, at least.
Now that do sound like business to me, because your father's the vice president. And nobody know exactly what Hunter Biden do, but their accounts were commingled. So there's definitely some business going on for them to commingle their accounts. Now we're going to have to find out in more finite detail, like, is this just an account they share, like an expense account, or is this like, hey, I need to bail my son out account, because, Joe's son be getting into things from time to time. And so we're going to have to figure out exactly what this account is about. But this is very interesting, because I have never heard of Joe Biden being some international businessman with all these foreign ties. This sounds the same as what they were saying about Donald Trump, but now it's on the flip side. It's when the pancakes start bubbling up. Now they done flipped it over. Now they cooking the other side.
Red flags were raised by banks to the account owner or owners indicating suspicious or illegal activity. One of Hunter's closest associates, Eric Sherwin, was accessing Joe Biden's money and writing checks to reimburse Hunter. Sherwin arranged the Biden's international deals around the world. At the same time, he was a frequent visitor to the White House, and Joe Biden during the Obama administration, visiting close to 30 times, and sometimes with international business partners and Hunter, according to Hunter's calendar.
What's up, mad scientist? I'm over here doing a little investigation, because you see the Republicans took over the House. So you know what that means, Delvin. That means probes and investigations. Probes and investigations. Sometimes probes, sometimes investigations. Sometimes they're going to be married and have little probe investigation kids, but they're going to be probes and investigations. And now they're investigating Hunter Biden. But Delvin, they started off smart. Mad scientists. They said, this isn't about Hunter Biden. This is about Joe Biden's connection to his criminal enterprise. But I don't know if it's going to be an easy sell to the American people, because they're describing Joe Biden as this, this titan of international business. And Americans are used to what they're used to. And we're used to seeing the folksy old guy who will just, he likes to sniff every now and then. He'll sniff you, he'll forget, and he'll wish you good luck and, tell you to go vote. And so I don't know if it's going to be an easy sell. Now, they say they coming with evidence. They say they come in the streets. They say they coming with receipts. So they got receipts for your feats. All right. And so we're going to watch this a little bit more, but it's interesting. It's getting interesting. Hey, Tone, what's going on? Tony, I'm glad you're here. Earlier, I was just talking to myself. I was talking a lot, but nobody could hear it but me. It happened. Hey, look, if Delvin, if you still here, if you guys know, I'm going to get back to it, but I want to talk about this whole Paul Pelosi thing. It says private dating chat girls. All right, so I get spam. I feel special. All right. So Paul Pelosi, right? Now I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to judge the possibilities of who he was with. But I'm saying, old Paulie got lonely. And Nancy, she should feel a little responsible for it, you know. She's out here trying to codify more power and, you know, to scam people and be a criminal mastermind. Wait, what you say? A criminal mastermind dementia patient is going to be a tough sell indeed, right? It's going to be tough, right? And so this whole Paul Pelosi thing. Remember a few months ago, Paul Pelosi got the DUI. And when he got the DUI, when the police showed up, although there was nobody there, the passenger airbag had been released, right? So I'm not saying there was somebody there, but let's say there was somebody there. If there was somebody there, Paul Pelosi's what, 82 years old? I think he's 82. He's in his 80s. His wife works across the country. She works in Washington, D.C. He's in San Francisco. She's out there, you know, codifying more power and figuring out how to get richer and, you know, doing the things that she does, stirring up problems around the world, you know, just being Nancy Pelosi. I couldn't blame him if he had company that night, you know, in the passenger seat. It get lonely out here on the player. He's 80-something years old. He got that big old house by himself. The closest he could get to his woman is on the TV. Like, I miss you, baby. And then, you know, when they say the guy broke into his house a few months later, they say he broke in, but then the reporters say that Paul opened the door for the police and that guy ends up getting like suspended. And long story short, I'm trying to say this. If it does come out that Paul Pelosi decided to have some extracurricular activity in his home, it's because he was lonely. And you guys shouldn't blame Paul for doing what he was doing. Now, I'm not going to judge him for who he was doing it with. If it were to be done, right? I'm not judging him. I'm not judging him, scientists. I'm not judging him. I think that Paul was lonely. I seen the footage from his house too. I saw the footage. I saw the glass out. The glass was like outside of the house, like somebody broke out the house. That was very interesting. Another interesting thing was this. Paul Pelosi is 80-something years old. This other guy is 42. At 42, you're still pretty spry. And he was a nudist. You know, those nudists be in good shape. Well, I won't say all of them, but a lot of San Francisco nudists be in good shape because they walk a lot. There's a lot of hills in San Francisco. People are not doing the math on this guy. So if they're in the house and they struggling, come here. No, you come here. Ah, leave me alone. Somebody help, right? How this 82-year-old man managed to, but like, what'd he do? Like keep running halfway around the island sink? Like, come, like, how could he keep him off of him and away from him for 30 minutes before he says, wait a minute, stop. I need to go use the restroom. And he goes to the restroom. And while he's in his restroom, then he calls the police talking in code. And in that code, they asked him if he knew him. One time he said no. One time he says yes. He's a friend. He's a family friend. It's all kind of strange. It's all kind of strange. So let's say so again. So we got this 82-year-old man. We have this 42-year-old man. There's a 40-year difference. And the older guy somehow could just evade this guy for all this time, somehow, some way. And then when the police do show up, now this was the question. Who opened the door? Was it a third person there? Well, it comes out that Paul Pelosi opened the door. At first, the police report said that, you know, the police opened the door themselves. And I got to wondering, like, so would they just stick their hand through the glass, like, you know, let me open that up too? Did they have a key? Did they break it down more? They didn't break it down more because the pictures the next day didn't show like a completely open door. And then this reporter comes out on a mainstream news station and says that Paul opened the door. Not only did he open the door and then walked back to the assailant so they could start wrestling and he could get hit. boop, knocked out. Right? Now, I'm not saying it hit nobody in the head. Don't hit nobody in the head. Tone, you said he was a vegan too? Yeah, he was a, yeah, they called the guy, they said he was a far right winger. QAnon, all that stuff. Then they said he was a Jimmy Dore fan, and Jimmy Dore is like lefter than left. And then they said he was a far right Republican again. I said, okay. And so then I was watching, they did a little bit of investigating, and they talked to one of his neighbors, and they showed his house. Now, I'm already stuck on the fact that he's a nudist. I'm like, for some reason, being a nudist and being a hardcore right Republican in San Francisco just don't mesh to me. Like fire and gasoline. You don't want to put them together. But, either way it go, that's what they're saying. Then they interview this lady in front of his house, and there I see it right before my eyes, a Black Lives Matter sign in the window. I said, now, this is a different kind of Republican here. Then after I see the Black Lives Matter sign, then they pan over just a little bit. I'm going to use some technical terms. Pan over just a little bit. And now you see a LGBTQ flag just blowing in the breeze. I said, now, okay, now something just don't seem right about this. Something just ain't right. Right? Something don't make no sense. And so I'm like, I feel like I'm being lied to. But either way it go, I said all that to say this. If Paul Pelosi was in there doing his thing, swinging from chandeliers, and he just so happened to get into it with the person he was in there with, and then the police come and the rest of the story happened, Paul is lonely, okay? So Nancy Pelosi is stepping down to spend more time with old Paulie. She's doing that to step down to be with Paulie, and so she can avoid these probes and investigations because they are coming. And she's going to have less of a profile to where she doesn't have to always be talking to the public, which means she could dodge more questions. I'm going to sit in my office. I'm not coming out. Right? Those MAGA nudists strike again. The mad scientist, I miss you, dog. I miss you. Can you tell? Because that's the same thing I said. The MAGA nudists strike again. They strike again. I don't know if anybody has ever been to San Francisco. If there was a MAGA nudist, they would stone him with granola until he changed his party. Like really, they would have powwows around him until he repents. Certain things I just don't be seeing. Oh, I'm going to throw this in here real quick. Something that I don't believe. It has nothing to do with this. I'm going to play a little bit more of these guys back here talking. Bunch of Caucasian guys with the black guy back there, and he's standing in the back because he know if he step in the front and people get a hold of who he is, they gonna say he is a COO. You finish the rest. That's just a byproduct of being black and a Republican. You can't, your black card gets snatched from you. Not my rules. Not my rules. All right. But I was going to say something else that I thought was strange. It's eluding me right now, so I'm going to get back to these guys talking. Let's go over here.
Sherwin was also the president of Hunter's company and was appointed by President Obama to a position in the administration. After an apparent falling out with Sherwin, Hunter began coordinating business himself, and increasingly the deals brought in Joe Biden as a direct equity holder. One of these deals involved the sale of American natural gas to China. Evidence suggests Joe Biden had a 10% equity stake through his son. And behind Glenn and Andrew is a map from Hunter's laptop. This was a PowerPoint presentation on his laptop in Chinese.
I thought the laptop was a hoax.
They used in working with the Chinese. Now, let's think about this for a second. At a time when Americans are suffering from high energy prices because of this administration's terrible energy policy, we find evidence that Hunter Biden and Joe Biden were involved in a scheme to try to get China to buy liquefied natural gas, and from a whistleblower to try to get their foot in the door with China starting to purchase an interest in natural gas drillers. And people are in outrage over China buying farmland in the Dakotas. What about China starting to buy into our American energy industry at a time when we have an energy crisis because of the bad policy?
Ooh. So they're calling this evidence. Now they showing slides. I don't know. Now they know they should have turned them Chinese words to English. I can't read that. They're saying it's evidence, but they're just circling places on the map. Show me documents. Come on, man. This is going to be a great movie. And look, and some people are going to be mad at me. They're going to say, Tyrone, you're childish. But I want to see all of the laptop. I want to see the crack. I want to see the prostitutes. I want to see it all. I want to see it. And not because it got nothing to do with Joe Biden, because I want to be entertained. You guys going to drag me through this. You're showing me stuff with Chinese letters. You might as well let me have a little fun.
Of the Biden administration. Now let that sink in. Hunter brought in millions of dollars from this deal from entities tied to the Chinese government. In emails obtained by committee Republicans, Hunter wanted keys made for Joe Biden and Jim Biden, his office mate. He provided Joe Biden's personal cell number and called him his partner. The other partners in that deal were two people closely tied to the Chinese Communist Party.
All right, we're going to stop playing that. See, now what they are doing that is very interesting is they are making sure to tie Joe Biden into the whole story so people don't start saying, oh, Hunter Biden isn't in government. He's not an elected official. So it seems as if they're trying to take away that argument before it can be made even more. So they are showing showing me documents, that a map with some Chinese writing on it, but they're saying that these are the places that Joe Biden is doing business. 10% for the big guy, 10% for the big guy. And what was interesting earlier in a slide, not in a slide, do people even show slides anymore? What was interesting was earlier, they were saying that Joe Biden and Hunter Biden shared an account. Now, that does equal business to me, but Hunter Biden has a tendency to get in some problems, you know. Maybe that could be the let me bail out my son fund, you know. I do imagine that Joe Biden has that type of money, but this whole international businessman thing may be a hard sell to people who don't actually look into it and listen. But we have to remember that this did start off as being misinformation. I got to watch what I say. I said misinformation. I've been doing videos on TikTok. Yeah, they said, Tyrone, do videos on TikTok. My son said, Daddy, you should do it. So I started putting videos on TikTok, and they started doing well. Until I said something about Ukraine. That one, they took the sound right up off of it. Give me that. Then I said something the other day about, I forgot. They didn't flag none of my videos. They didn't take none of the videos down. They just said, you can't post for a while because you violated community guidelines. And right after that, I scrolled up and saw a lady twerking, busting it open like a watermelon in July. How ironic. How ironic. What were you reading, Tom? Let me see what we got going on over here. That's the reason national gas ports are being built. Yeah, that's what saying that. And that has something to do with its ties with Burisma and all this other stuff. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think it'll be easy to sell this as Joe Biden, the international businessman and lovable old guy that occasionally likes to sniff a woman? What do you guys think? You guys think that's going to be a good sale? Because a lot of this stuff is just, how do you sell it to the public? It's all about the next election. It's all about the next election. They got a bruising because he's saying he's going to run again, and they've made all these promises to go after people, but they sure came out swinging. I knew they was going to come out, but I didn't know they came out like swinging. I wonder if they're going to investigate Dr. Fauci. Rand Paul. See, now I get to find out what information he knew prior that he couldn't let out because they were not in power. But now that things change and now these investigations are going to come out, I wonder who else is going to be investigated. I want a list. And I do wonder as well, are they going to be able to make the leap and tie Joe Biden into it? Because I don't think anybody have a problem believing that Hunter Biden is starting, doing some things, But at the same time, so either he's a crackhead or he's an international businessman. Him too. So maybe overpainting him as the fumbling, bumbling crackhead running up the beach naked with a hooker. Well, you know what? Those do make good international businessmen. I mean, what am I thinking? It all goes to crack, keep you up at night, keep you on your toes. Hookers and the beach, that's just a byproduct of a successful week. So maybe Hunter Biden is just a good businessman. Maybe he is a good businessman. But hey, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I am going to go smoke a cigar with my boy. It's his birthday tomorrow. So I guess we're going to start tonight. But yeah, you guys, if you get a chance, share this with somebody if you can. If you haven't subscribed, for the people who may watch this later, just subscribe. You don't got nothing else to do. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. I've been at 900 for like 900 weeks. Maybe because I'm not consistent enough with this. But I have been doing little TikTok videos. You could go look at my TikTok at Soapbox Go Media. SOAPBOXGO Media. All one word, even though I took that pause after the O to breathe and say media is Soapbox Go Media. I'm pretty sure I'll be unflagged soon. I think. I hope. Also, you guys can download New Earth ETV on your Roku, your Amazon Fire Stick, and next week your Apple TV, and you'll be able to find all my little commentaries and stuff on that too, amongst other programming and stuff that's being put up there at the moment right now. But yeah, I'm about to get out of here, you guys. Hope you guys had a good one. Let me see if anybody got anything to say. We rocking all three of us. Good to see you back on, family. We got to get, man, we have to, mad scientists. We have to. Tis is the season of probes and investigation. We need to be probing and investigating ourselves. Come on, Delvin. I like to probe. I'm going to call you, man. We're going to get out of here. I said we like it's more than us three, or like there's somebody else actually in here with me.